Welcome back.
Welcome back. It's good to be with you again. Okay, so last time we were chatting, I said I had a couple of things that came to mind when Angie was talking, and that made me a bad listener. But really, it was just that she was like setting off light bulbs in my brain. And one of them I was saving, so here it is. I want to offer it now. And I'm just anxious to kind of hear some thoughts because it's one of those things that we encounter in the media and pop culture, whatever. And I don't know about you, but like that's the kind of news I'm compelled toward. Like I realize world news is really important. Local news is really important. It's good to be mindful of what's happening out there. I think that's really helpful for me, especially my job, to be mindful of what's happening in the world. But also sometimes I just need a break. It's too much. So I think the pop culture stuff feels insignificant. That might be a horrible word, but like in the grand scheme of things, like what's happening in the world of music, what new movies coming out, you know, all of that. It just, I don't know, it's a nice escape. If you're an Enneagram person, like I think my Enneagram likes to do that kind of stuff as an escape. Anyway, I don't know. But so we see things in the media related to pop culture and current events, whatever. We're not talking heavy stuff. We're talking light stuff. And we tend to have commentary around it or reactions to it, but do we often like take it a step deeper? Okay, so here's the thing. Just recently, Will Smith punched Chris Rock in the face at the Oscars because Chris Rock made a comment about Jada Pinkett Smith's hairstyle, which I now understand is a result of alopecia, right?
Because I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, what did he say? I thought they were legitimately coming out with a G.I. Jane movie sequel or whatever, and she was going to be in it. I didn't realize he was poking fun at her hair. So I was like, what just happened? Because I don't even watch the Oscars usually. No. But I
took a nap. Like I got home from church that day and I was like, I'm so brain dead and I had to do taxes. So I took a nap and I woke up to this text like my friend was having, she said, Oscars party. And she goes, except I'm not having a party. And I was like, wait, are the Oscars on? Like I had no idea. Yeah.
Someone told me to.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so I had no idea either, right? So so if you don't know, but I feel like you have to know at this point. Chris Rock was hosting. He made a comment about G.I. Jane 2 coming out. Or like them doing a G.I. Jane 2, that's hard to say, with Jada Pinkett Smith as a star because she currently has like a buzzed haircut. And Will thought that was funny in the moment until Jada's face did not reflect amusement. And so then Will booked it to the stage and decked Chris Rock, which is just a really awkward moment to watch. And then he's like screaming at him. That was the part that was the most alarming to me. Like the punch was okay. Like that was unfortunate and cringy. But the screaming, like there was so much anger in the screaming. Anyway, so that's what I want to talk about today is moments like this, not just, I mean, maybe the whole event, maybe Will Smith, whatever. But I saw somebody post something. So I got a text message in the middle of the night. Did you see that this happened? And I was like, no, I didn't see that happened. So then I watched the playback. But then I saw a post from a friend on social media who was like, wow, I really thought that Will Smith was one kind of guy. And in just seconds, my whole perception of him changed. So we were talking, that's what it was. We were talking about perceptions. And we were talking about the way you want people to feel in your realm. And I just thought that was so interesting that in this moment where he was reactive in defense of his wife, who I have since learned has the haircut because she has alopecia. And now there's so much fallout, right? Like Chris Rock had the opportunity to press charges. He did not. Will Smith, of course, had to then go up and receive an award after this happened, which is like super awkward. I don't know if they've decided to like take away his award because I know that was on the table because of like code of conduct or something. Ew. Yeah, I don't know. Then you've got like his home life, right? Like what's that conversation with your wife like when you go home after you've just laid somebody out? Not literally laid them out. I just use that phrase a lot. But you punched Chris Rock in the face. Like, does she leave like high five, like way to go, husband? Or is she like, so that was too far, right?
Right.
Or like what? Like, we don't know. So, but I just found that so interesting that this person commented, and I don't know that she's wrong, but that her whole opinion of him changed because of this moment. And so I don't know where that leads us, but I just would be so interested to unpack that. Like, are there those moments, whether it is somebody we see in the media, right? Our opinion of somebody famous changes because of a very human moment that they have. Or is it our relationships, right? Like, one of my favorite quotes, Maya Angelou, believe who someone shows you they are the first time. And so is it maybe in our relationships where that happens, where we're like, wow, I really thought you were this one person, and then I saw this side of you, and now I don't know. Like, now I'm wrestling with that. So, I don't know. I guess, like,
I've definitely had some, personal occasions where, you think something about someone and then the way they respond, to an altercation or whatever definitely makes you see them in a different light. Now, in this case, at first I was like, what is his problem? Especially since I had a moment where when he was up giving his speech, he was saying, he's struggling because he feels God calling him to do certain things and be, a protector and whatever. And, so in this situation, like, do you look at it as, I almost asked you, did your friend see him differently in a more positive light now, or in a less positive light?
Yeah.
Because people who have looked at their relationship over time, and aren't sure about their level of commitment or whatever, might see it as,
he's all in.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's more involved in the relationship than I expected because he feels the need to protect her, or he has no control. And,
he's a psycho, and we just really
slugging people on television.
Right. Correct.
And then there's the camp that thinks it was all staged, but
Right. We love the conspiracy theory camp. I tend to live there, actually.
So that was interesting. But.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Like, so that's what I'm thinking about. Like, as we're exploring this, is like, what are those moments? Like, okay, because I don't know that my husband will ever sit down to watch these, but when we were dating, we had a moment, right? I'd known him for 10 years before we started dating, and we worked together, and I didn't know him well, but like, I'd known him for a long time. Like, you kind of get a feel for who somebody is if you're in the same building with them for 40 hours a week, for 10 years. So anyway, but we had this moment when we had a puppy, and we got the puppy because I'd never had let me try that in English. I'd never had a puppy. I said yes to a puppy because I knew that he had puppies, and he could really kind of lead the training. But then we had a moment when she ate something very expensive, where I saw a side of him I had not seen. And at that point, like 12 and a half years. So I was like, wow. Now, we worked through that, of course, like, and it wasn't like he didn't throw the dog across the room or anything like that, but it was just a side of him I hadn't seen. And it did, like, kind of cause me to pause and like, what do we do with this? And we talked about it, and he was like, just know that, like, that side of me is there, but it would be like, if you ever saw it, it would be in protection of you. Like, it would be in protection of those that I love. Like, and that's true. Like, he's not an angry person. He's not he does not lack control in that area. So, but it did. Like, I know I didn't know that about him before. Like, I know that exists now. So it was a little bit of a journey to get to the, like, okay, I do see you differently now, but it's, what was like, wow, that was shocking, to, wow, it's good to know that you're capable of that strong emotion. And then it just makes me wonder about other people, that first impressions, and like, once you get in deeper with somebody, and knowing that people have bad days, right? Like, that kind of giving grace. Like, I just feel like this is relevant on a lot of levels, because we all need to be extended grace sometimes. And whatever the source of Will Smith's actions were, whether it was staged or whether it was anger or whether it was like protection, you know, and by anger I mean like absence of self-control, whatever that was, you know, there's grace. There needs to be grace in there too, because he's allowed to be human. Like, yes, when you're in the public eye, you have to be really mindful about what you show and who you show it to, and you know, all of that. But we're all allowed to mess up,
right?
And so what is that tension of, hey, wow, like I'm seeing a side of you I didn't know. I don't know what to do with that, but also I need to give you grace for that.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you saw his acceptance speech when he was...
I didn't. Yeah, so now I need to watch that.
Yeah, watch it, because there was, well, say this first, that he mentioned in there that, you know, as celebrities, we're supposed to just take it. Like, people just say crazy things about us, and we're supposed to let people just let it roll off and let people say and do whatever they want and attack us in different ways. But, you know, sometimes you just can't, you know. And so that was, you know, he's right. Like, you know, we expect, you know, as just normal people, we could respond however we want, but as a celebrity, they take the bombardment all the time, you know, of people saying just the craziest things, and Lord knows they've had enough about their relationship and whatever over the years. And
I was kind of one of those people when I watched it. Sorry, my nose itches, probably because of allergies, but when I watched it I was like, oh, he's all in, right? Like, he's defending his wife. And before I watched it, I looked at Ken and I was like, hey, I hear Will Smith punch Chris Rock, but I didn't realize it was like in the middle of the award show, like in the moment, until I watched it. So this is before I knew anything. I was like, would you punch somebody for me? Like, if they said something ugly about me? And he was like, you bet. And then we watched it together, and I was like, maybe don't do that. Like, please don't do that. I said, would you do that? And he was like, maybe not like that. And I was like, okay, good. Like, because if he was like, yes, I would, I'd be like, maybe not.
Is it better to handle it there?
Right.
In the moment, or go off and like,
right,
you know, have some sort of media storm about it later or something, right? Like,
that's a really good question.
Tweets or whatever, you know. I mean,
well, and then that breeds like gossip, right? I mean, there's going to be gossip about it either way, because it is in the public eye. Which is a reminder not to gossip. But I like that. That was nice. But would it have been better for him to ignore it, and then that would fuel those rumors, the gossip, that like, oh wow, like Chris Rock like said that thing about his wife, and doesn't Chris Rock know? And you know, if I were Will Smith, I would have defended my wife. I would have called him out right there, right? And then but he does it, and then he's like, well, that was inappropriate, that was out of line. And
a friend of mine from high school posted this morning, he's like, you know what, go Will Smith, because if you're going to say something like that about my wife or a friend or someone I care about, I'm going to smack you too. Like, you know. And he said, even then, you know, he's had women tell him that they don't want or need him to stick up for them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that in our, you know, we're so, you know, our, what do they call it? Feminism or whatever, you know, the word gets thrown around so much, but you know, in our finding our own power, we don't need anyone to you know, defend us. But
yes, we do.
I was like, feel free to defend me
any day.
Like, I don't want somebody going out, like, if someone brushes up against us accidentally in a bar, I don't want, or you know, in a restaurant,
like,
don't
be dramatic.
Don't turn around and smack somebody. But you know, if somebody's downright disrespecting me and something needs to be said or done, you know, I mean, I there are guys who go around and just go around throwing their weight around trying to protect every moment, and I don't appreciate that, because then you're just being ridiculous for the sake of being ridiculous. But
correct.
But
and you look ridiculous.
Yeah, then you don't look. Then there's they showed you who they were, right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, and whether it's a guy or a girlfriend, right? Like, I want to know that if somebody is out of line toward me, that I've got people in my corner who are going to support and defend me. And maybe that's a positive we can all walk away from this one man's like unfortunate public moment with, is like, hey, let's be defenders of each other.
Right. And it doesn't have to be physical.
No.
You don't have to go around.
Right, because the pastor in me needs to say that violence is never the answer.
But speaking up, when something's wrong
Mm-hmm.
is something that we struggle with,
Mm-hmm.
and that's been a theme that keeps coming up today
Mm-hmm.
too, that I've seen multiple times now. That
In people's responses to that incident?
in that and in my daily text message.
Okay, that's
part
funny.
of it was, you know, I get my daily messages from the divine that always seem to add on to the
Because they're from the divine.
apparently they always add on to the theme, and the last part of it was, you know, it was adding on to the finding your voice thing that I posted about the other day, but it also said speaking up when something's wrong, you know, because it's a challenge to do that. But
It is a challenge to do that. And that makes me think about like all of the places where there is inequity and injustice right now. And like that's a big can to open. I don't know that I even want to do that we even want to do that, but that is like, it is so easy to go, well, it doesn't impact me personally. It doesn't impact my immediate world. Like I don't have a role in this. But also, at what point do we say I need to create a role for me in this? Because it is my job as a human to stand up and speak up and be a voice.
And the theme of inequities and things has been bothering me as well. But that may be one for the next thing too, because that was my daily calendar for today as well. That. My little tear off calendar when I tore it off. My one for yesterday, I was like, oh, how funny that was going through my head during the awards ceremony. Nothing to do with the whole Will Smith thing, but just inequities and things and standing up for things was bugging me. So
it sounds like we're going to go. And when we come back, we're going to talk about inequity and injustice.
And we'll look a lot like we do now,
because we're just going to keep chatting.
We're just going to keep on going.
Yeah, we're just going to, these are our new uniforms. But in the meantime, you know, I would just invite us all to think about those moments where we are called to defend somebody, but also to be givers of grace for people who maybe aren't having their best day. And need to know that they're allowed to do that. And maybe that's ourselves.
Oh, it's so often ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't give ourselves enough credit.
Never. So, see you soon.
Take care.